this tutorial, we're going to create a lower third template with the all new motion graphics templates for Premiere Pro. Hello and welcome guys, ArmaganVideos here, and today we are going to create a lower third template with After Effects, which we then convert into a nice and nifty template for Adobe Premiere Pro. We are using the newest technology just released by Adobe, which is called motion graphics templates. We are creating custom sliders and checkboxes to allow the video editor in Premiere to customize and change all of these settings or of the template with ease, without even knowing a lot about animations in After Effects. Everything you need to know about this new topic is shown in this video, as well as some tips and tricks that I found out myself just by googling or scripting around. Little hint, yes, we are going to script just a little bit in this tutorial. I hope you're really going to enjoy this tutorial, and if you do, make sure to comment, like and subscribe so I can continue with creating these tutorials. And if you have any more suggestions for new tutorials, make sure to contact me on Facebook. Without further ado, let's jump right into After Effects. So there we are in After Effects. Let's click on the composition icon and create a full HD composition. 60 FPS, 6 seconds long, and let's call it lower third template. Let's click on the 100% and make it fit up to 100% so we can see everything. And for this tutorial I'm going to use the Move Anchor Point script. If you don't have this, just Google it and download it, it's for free, and then go to Window and make sure to select it so you can see it. And let's grab the rectangle tool and create a white rectangle. Hold on Shift so it makes a perfect rectangle and drag it to the bottom left corner. And now if we zoom in, let's click on the stroke right here and give it a little stroke. Let's make it red so we can actually see what the stroke is. And next up, let's select our shape and rename it to rectangle. Let's press R to get the rotation keyframe or property, and P to get the position property. And if you now press U, you can see all the keyframes that got animated, and let's select them both and drag them to the right. And if you now drag it down, you can see that we're getting an animation, but the anchor point is offset to the top right. So let's select our rectangle and make sure to center that anchor point. And if you're not using the Move Anchor Point tool, you can press Y to get the pen behind tool. If you're wondering what this weird line is, it's because we've animated the position. Make sure to drag it right in the middle of our rectangle. So let's drag down the Y-axis of our rectangle right here and also make it one full spin, like 360 degrees. Let's see how it looks if we animate this. Let's make it 0.5, which equals to 180 degrees. Only half a spin. Yeah, perfect. That looks better. If you now go into our graph editor, because you shouldn't create linear animations. Why is it showing? Because they look very unnatural. Yeah, make sure to have the speed graph selected. Okay, I know what the problem is. Select your keyframes, right click keyframe assist and make sure to easy ease them so that they look a bit more natural in the animation. And you can see it kind of looks very boring right here. It starts slow, then gets faster, and if you're dragging in that anchor point right there a bit to the left, it starts really fast and then fades out slowly, so it kind of looks really nice. And let's drag in the left one as well. Same for our rotation. Drag them in a bit more so it's a bit faster, and let's see how it looks. Yep, awesome. And maybe we can adjust a little bit more so it fades out a bit more. Let's see how this looks. Yeah, perfect. Okay, next up, make sure to get the direct selection tool again by pressing V or clicking on it, and let's make our stroke actually white, and let's fill the inner color because that's how our lower third is going to look, as you've just seen in the beginning of this video. So next up, let's create our text by pressing Ctrl and T or Command and T, and if you're unsure about the weird signs showing up at the bottom of the screen, make sure to check the description for a translation from OS X to Windows or from Windows to OS X. So I've just typed add ArmaganVideos, which is our main username right here. And now copy that layer, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, and let's make this one a bit smaller actually and a bit more thinner, and let's increase the spacing of the letters as well. Make it smaller as I've just said, and let's call this one Follow Me on Twitter. Let's drag it to the very beginning of our @ArmaganVideos text right here. Press Command R to get the guidelines so you can make it perfect, and drag out a little guideline so it kind of realigns to our first text right there. And you can use the arrow keys to make more specific adjustments to the lower text. Now let's drag them down both a bit so it's more centered, and so let's bring down our Follow Me on Twitter text and let's pick whip it to our ArmaganVideos text or parent it. You can also go to the drop down and make sure to select this layer. And if you're now moving the ArmaganVideos text, the Follow Me on Twitter text follows with it. Okay, next up, let's animate the position of our ArmaganVideos text, just as we did with the rectangle. I can see it kind of fades in from the left straight to the right. And let's also create a mask for this text so it hides behind our rectangle. Okay, let's go to our rectangle and go to the very edge and drag out a shape. Oops, that's wrong. We don't want the stroke on our mask right here, so make sure to get rid of the stroke. Also drag out a guideline again so it's easier for us if we're zoomed out right here. Let's drag out the mask and make sure to make the fill color red so we actually always know that this is a mask. And let's give it a name. I'm going to call it name mask. Yeah. Let's hide these settings right there and let's copy this one. Ctrl C and Ctrl V. And let's rename this, and this is going to be social media mask. So if you drag this right above of our Follow Me on Twitter text, and you can see this track matte setting right there, make sure to toggle the switches and modes and set it to alpha inverted. Yeah, the same for our text right there, for the Twitter text. And now you can see they're actually getting behind our rectangle right there and they're popping out of it. Okay, now let's pick whip or parent our both masks to our rectangle so that if the rectangle moves, our masks are moving with it, just like that, as you can see right there by the outlines. And yeah, now our text is perfectly behind the rectangle right there. And let's play with the position a bit. Let's make sure to easy ease that animation as well, since it looks very boring and unnatural again. So make sure to drag them in and ease them in and out a bit. And if we go to the preview and play this, boom, whoa, very fast. So let's drag out the right keyframe to slow that animation down a bit. And let's make it fade out even more. Yeah, looks nice, man. Just 10 minutes you can create a nice looking lower third. Let's select all of our layers by pressing Ctrl and A and then U to hide all of these single properties, and let's press Ctrl and S to actually save our project. Lower third template, I'm going to call it. There we go. Next up, I've got these two icons prepared for you guys. Twitter and Facebook logo, easy as that. Just grab them and drag and drop them into your project. And let's drag them into the composition, and now they're in the middle right there. So let's drag them into the middle of our rectangle. And let's go to the effects and presets and type a fill. Now let's apply that fill effect to our Facebook logo and make sure to set the color to white. Ctrl C, Ctrl V to copy this effect to our Twitter. And now make sure to click this little gear icon right there so it continuously rasterizes the logo and makes it very sharp. Let me just quickly show you. If you turn that off, well, Facebook is already in a good resolution, so let's hide this. But Twitter looks like the biggest chunk of pixels you've ever seen. So if you press that little gear, it gets rasterized since it's a EPS file, an EPS file, a vector, and it looks really sharp and easy. So let's position these icons right in the middle of our rectangle right there. Let me just quickly eyeball this. Yep, that should be fine. Let's parent these two icons to our rectangle as well so they move with our rectangle again. If you now select this and go in my options here again, we can see that I've got the Twitter color in here. You can just grab that from the screen or download my package that I'm going to provide for you guys. And yeah, that looks pretty awesome already. Let's make the Facebook sign a bit bigger. And let's actually rename our icons, because it's very important that you really follow this structure and the names of my layers right here. So, because we are later going to script and we want to make it really non-destructive and good to understand if you're looking into this template at a later stage of any time you want to edit it. So the Facebook icon is going to call just Facebook and Twitter, and the @ArmaganVideos text is going to be called username, and the lower text is going to called social media, yeah. Make sure to follow along these names really precisely, because it really depends later who's using this template, and it should be really fully customizable. Next up, let's select our Facebook icon, go to Effect, Expression Controls, and add a checkbox control. And if you now press T to get the opacity and Alt click on the stopwatch, you can actually type an expression in here, but make sure to pick whip to our checkbox so it gets pasted into this little text box right there. And now type if, open parentheses, then go to the end and type equals 1, close parentheses, and then these curly brackets 0 else curly brackets 100. And what this basically means, if this checkbox is checked, which equals to 1, then set the transparency to 0, which equals to hide this layer, and if it's not checked, make sure to set it on 100 so this icon is shown. Now copy that checkbox control and paste it to our Twitter text, and also copy that script right there into the opacity, just like we did with the Facebook text. And now we got these two checkboxes ready for our template later on. I'm going to mention this later, don't worry if you're wondering why do we have these checkboxes now. Okay, now we need 4 more controls. So select the username text, go to Effect, Expression Controls, and add a slider control. Press A to get the anchor point property, and Alt click on the stopwatch again so we can paste in this script right here. And you will find all these scripts and all that in the package in the description below so you can download it. If you paste this in, you can see that there's standing layer name, so make sure to change it with the actual layer name, which is username right here. And let me explain this. The X value of our username gets the current value subtracted with this slider control. If you're moving it, it gets a number and it's subtracting it or adding it to your X value. And the last line of code right there puts basically the X and Y coordinates back to your username anchor point. So you can actually use this slider to move this text around later on. This is what it is. And paste in that script into your social media text as well, because we got 2 texts in this lower third template right here. We also need to change the name to the layer name again. Social media and social media. And now we're getting an error because we have to copy the slider control, or we have to make another slider control. Effect, expression, slider control, and it automatically gets named slider control 2. Copy these 2 and paste them into your social media text as well. So now we need to adjust our script a little bit. Just add a space and a 2 because we've just made 2 slider controls, and now we can change the X and Y coordinate with these sliders. And you will see why in some minutes. It's really awesome. And if we now preview this, make sure that everything still works, and yep, it does. The only thing that we have to do now is actually select all our layers that got some keyframes in them and reverse these keyframes so the lower third actually gets reversed and it's hiding back again. So copy these keyframes by selecting them and then Ctrl C and Ctrl V, paste them. And let's actually just turn them around. The keyframe that's at the end gets to the front and the front keyframe gets to the back. Just like that. This will basically reverse our animation. And then we also have to adjust them because they look very, look at how dumb this looks. So let's select the keyframes and let's bring back our rectangle a bit. First the text should go in. And also, yeah, look at this mess right here. Make sure to give it a bit more easing. It should start really slow and then fade up really fast. Select multiple keyframes and drag them in. Oops, not only one, select them again. Ctrl Z to go back and select multiple and drag them in. Let's see how this looks. Okay, beginning cool as always. Needs a bit more adjustment. The text is too fast. So let's let's select all keyframes from our rectangle and drag them to the right a bit so it disappears a bit later. Text is gone and then this fades away as well. Yep, awesome. So let me explain you a little bit. But first also make sure to save this project. I'm very excited about this tutorial because in my eyes Adobe has really created something very revolutionary. The all-new motion graphics templates allow you to create complex animations in Adobe After Effects, which you can then convert into a Premiere Pro template that users without the biggest expertise can actually use and customize to their needs without changing the whole layout or anything. And they can just import this template into Premiere, edit it and use it for their projects, and it will look super nice. This template can then be imported into Premiere and you can then use it for all of your projects fast and easy, and it will save you a lot of time, especially if you're creating something with lower thirds, intros, outros and everything where you need to change some texts or graphics. I'm going to show you a lot of tips and tricks about this. One little information though, Adobe is still working on this feature and they're implementing more features that you can then import into Premiere, because right now you can make some little check boxes and sliders with some help of scripts, which I'm showing you in this tutorial, but there are some points missing which Adobe will actually import into this feature at the later stage of the updates. And maybe some of you might think now, why not just import the After Effects project? Well, that's an easy answer, because you don't have to switch to After Effects then to change anything in this template. You can just import this motion graphics template and you can do everything within Premiere Pro without switching even to After Effects, which really saves a lot of time. And as I just said, many people without the expertise in After Effects can just stay in their programs, for example video editors, just stay in Premiere and change all of these settings right in Premiere, and it's very customizable. You can slide texts here and there, you can make checkboxes to actually hide and show graphics, and yeah, everything I'm going to show you in just some minutes. You will find more information about this topic in the description below, so make sure to check it out. Back in After Effects, let's get rid of the guideline which we've created some minutes before and go to Window, Essential Graphics. Now that's interesting here. We got the select a composition drop down right there, so we select our only composition, the lower third template, and now make sure to collapse or hide all of the properties right there so it's nice and clean. And if you now click on Solo Supported Properties, you can see all the properties that are supported by the Essential Graphics panel, which you can later animate or change or customize in Premiere. But let's make sure to hide them all again, because I just want to have some selected ones. Go to our username and social media text and grab these source text right here and drag and drop that into Essential Graphics. Let's rename that, and it's going to get called social media username. And the second one, drag and drop it in again, it's going to get called social media name. If you click on set poster frame, you can actually set a little thumbnail, so you know in Premiere which template that actually is. Now let's go back to our text and collapse that out, and let's go to effects, and now you can see our two sliders that we've just created. Let's drag in the slider 1 and the second slider, and the first slider is for the x-axis, so let's actually call this one username X slider. Copy the text and go in here and paste that and just change it to Y. Username Y slider, and if you're now dragging it, you can see that the whole text is moving because we've parented it to ArmaganVideos, which is no problem. And yeah, you can see that we can move our text with these sliders now. And that's exactly how it's working in Premiere as well. Oops, why did I close this? Let me just go to Window, Essential Graphics again. Let's go to our social media text, collapse that out, effects, slider control, drag that first slider in, and we're going to call this one social media X slider, or social media name X slider, and let's drag this one in as well, copy that and change it to Y. If you drag this, you can now see that you can change this text with these sliders, the first slider for the X and the second one for the Y values. Pressing Ctrl and Z to get back to the normal state. Going to explain why in a later stage. And if you now click on this edit range tool right here, I'm always going to make sure that it goes from like -100 to 100 or even more, because if it already stays at 0, there's not much room to play with. So make sure to give it some room, and this is why I'm usually changing it to -100 or even more. So now you can drag it a bit more to the left or up or down or to the right. Next up, let's go into our icons, and the same here, effects, checkbox control, drag that checkbox in. Now I'm going to call this one Facebook or hide Facebook logo, because you can turn that on and off. And the same for the Twitter one, hide Twitter logo. Whoops, Twitter logo. And yeah, if you click on here, you can see that you can hide the different logos right there. Let's give our template a name. I'm going to call it lower third template. And well, what's missing? Let's collapse all of this, Ctrl A to select them all. Yeah, let's go into our rectangle, contents, rectangle, and let's actually get our stroke color right there into this template. Let's call it rectangle stroke color. And let's go to the fill and grab this one and just change it to rectangle fill color. Because later in Premiere you can actually change these colors. As you can see, all these different sets right here have grabbed the values. For example, the social media username has imported the @ArmaganVideos. Let's add a little comment right here, hint, exclamation mark, and we are going to hint the user that he has to adjust their username first. So I'm typing adjust the username sliders first, and parentheses, the social media name depends on that. Let's drag that up so the user sees it before he has made some changes. Let's add another comment, and I'm just going to call this one social media colors, a little tip for the user in Premiere. If we go into my folder right here, you can see that I've got the color codes for Twitter and the Facebook logo. And if I paste them in, you can see them in Premiere, and you can just easily adjust that, and you always got the colors on the fly. Now let's click on export motion graphics template, click on yes. I'm going to save it on my desktop, local drive, not into the cloud. I'm not the biggest fan of that option. And now if you go to Premiere, create a new project, and I'm just going to call it my video or whatever your project currently is. I'm going to overwrite this because I already got a my video project. You can actually see that I've got the essential graphics panel right here enabled already. If you don't have this, go to Window Essential Graphics, and if you don't have this Essential Graphics window, make sure to actually upgrade your Premiere and After Effects. Let's create a new sequence, AVC HD 1080p 30 FPS, or we're going to make it to 60 if we drag this in, and let's click on this little folder right there and import our mogrt, our motion graphics template, and now you can see it there with the thumbnail that we've created. And let's change the sequence settings to 60 FPS. Yep, now it imports that. It just takes around about 15 seconds or so, or 10 seconds or even less, because just the first time it really needs long, and if you now drag it in, it's going to be very fast. Now you can see there's our little lower third, which we've just created in After Effects, and if we click on this now, you can see how the essential graphic changes to a edit tab, and you can now really change all of this in Premiere, which is really insane. Like change the text, change it from Twitter to Facebook, and now we can hide the Twitter logo just like that. And we can even slide around, because you can see we've created these sliders because everything will offset itself if you change the text. And now you can see we really screwed up right here. 100 is not enough. We can't bring the text completely to the right, so we have to change this later in After Effects again. And now we can see in our comments that we can just grab the colors and make it match to Facebook, which is 3B5998, and it looks perfect just like that, and it still has the same animation. All the masking and all this is done, but you're changing it in Premiere, which is awesome. So let's go back to After Effects and change our ranges again. So we should make them all go from -200 to 200, and I'll just fast forward this, because do this for all of the sliders, and let's export it again. Yes, we want to save the project and click OK, and yes, we want to overwrite our old template. And if you now go back to Premiere, make sure to delete this template, right click delete, so it's really gone. And let's import the template from After Effects in again, drag it in. There we go. As you can see, it goes really fast now. It was really fast now. Let's change it again to AMG_VDS and change this to Facebook. Let's hide the Twitter logo and let's change the sliders. Bring it to the left a bit and then adjust the X slider for the social media text. And now you can see we got enough space to move it to the recording space, and let's change the color from our comments there. And boom, Facebook, there we go. Looks awesome, and you can see how fast this is, and you can just send this to any colleague in the office, or you can even sell these templates. And yeah, crazy. If you now bring this in again or make a copy, you can see that these changes are not global. You can actually go back and change the icons and the colors again. So let's type in AMG Twitter again. And let's type, whoops, not slower, yeah, we want to have it uppercase. And let's bring it to the right a little bit and adjust the lower text so it matches again. And only thing missing now is the Twitter color again. And boom, there we go. Facebook and Twitter lower thirds done in seconds. Really awesome. You can also do this for Instagram and all that. And I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial, guys. Leave a comment, like and subscribe, and show me what you guys have built. And yeah, until the next time, ArmaganVideos.